as far as I can see, this isn't about making the law easier to navigate. This is about legitimizing transphobia. And 30p Lee himself acknowledged during a recent interview that the 2024 election would be fought on culture war issues, and specifically he referenced trans rights, that they were going to form a key part of that. So this is about legitimizing those people who either don't understand or don't want to understand what a trans person is. But it's also going to have a detrimental effect on cis women as well. And to be clear, when I say cis women, I just mean anyone who's not trans. So people like myself, the gender that I was assigned at birth matches my gender identity. I am a cis woman. Who's going to check that all the women accessing a toilet or a changing room aren't trans? And what would that check entail? Because if a trans woman has had gender reassignment surgery to change her genitals, for example, is she allowed in? Or would these self-appointed gender police be looking for those other characteristics? And how would they look for them? And this is where they get really murky, these rules, because I'm going to talk about myself because I'm an expert on myself. I'm a tall woman with broad shoulders, and I have a genetic disposition to being quite muscly. I'm blessed with the ability to put on a lot of muscle very fast if I exercise. Someone on Mumsnet recently suggested that I was secretly trans. And now that's something that I'm regularly, and I'm putting this in quote marks and you can't see because I'm on the radio, but that's something that I am regularly accused of on social media by people who claim that they can always tell, by the way. There is a conspiracy theory online that I am trans. So am I allowed in these women-only spaces in Kemi Badenoch's utopia? Are butch lesbian cis women allowed? Are cis women with short hair? Are cis women who have facial hair? Are they allowed? And then we get to the real $1 million question of this. Where are the trans women supposed to go? Because they aren't safe in male spaces. Trans women are 4 times more likely to be victims of violent crime than their cis counterparts. Where would the trans men go? Trans men are assigned female at birth. So do trans men have to go into bathrooms and changing rooms with cisgender women? These are all questions which have not been answered by the EHRC or by Kemi Badenoch. So even putting aside the ethics, and again, that's not really a debate that I want to have with you this hour. The question I want to ask you is, how on earth is this remotely workable?
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
What is a cis female?
It's a woman whose biology matches, or the gender she was assigned at birth, what's on her birth certificate, matches her gender identity. So if you've got female on your birth certificate and you identify as a woman, you're cis.
Okay, so that doesn't explain what a cis female is.
Yes, I just explained it to you.
From? Where did it come from, the word cis?
It's a Latin thing, I think. It just means the opposite of trans.
Okay, so it's a word that's been added to our vocabulary for women who are female. So a cis female is a female.
Right, but so is a trans female, yeah.
Okay, so could you explain to me what a trans woman is?
It's a woman. It's a woman who was assigned male at birth most often.
When you say assigned, who assigns them?
The doctor, based on observing their genitals.
Okay, and that's been happening since time immemorial. Is that correct?
Well, it's interesting you asked that question. The idea that there's only 2 genders is a Christian invention that we, going back to the last hour actually, when we colonised the world, we imposed on other countries that recognise more than 2 genders.
Okay, I mean, I have, and people say this all the time, I absolutely, genuinely have nothing against trans women. I absolutely don't. I mean, I'm too old to worry about people want to do in their free time, what they want to call themselves. It's not my business, okay? It's absolutely not. Why can't we have a trans toilet?
Abigail, do you want to answer that question?
Okay, so, listen to me, right? I'm a woman, yeah? I'm not a man. So why, I don't care that a trans woman wants to use the toilet. And actually, I'm quite offensive that all these men ring up because they want to speak on behalf of me. I'm not needing you to speak on behalf of me because I don't see trans women as a threat. Because
I
they
just
don't
asked you a
need
question.
to. Because
Why
I
can't you
don't
have
see them
a
as
trans
a threat.
toilet?
They're
Because
not
why
a
should
threat.
trans women
They're
have to
not a
out
threat.
themselves every time they want to pee?
They're not
Okay,
a
so
threat.
why does cis
They're not a
women have to
threat.
put up with trans men in the toilet when you can simply change it by having a third toilet? That would solve the debate completely. There wouldn't be a problem. I'm not sure why you're against having a trans toilet, because then cis women, as you call them, would be safe.
Because if I'm a trans woman, why should I have to out myself as a trans woman if I'm in a bar or a cafe if I just happen to want to pee?
Okay. So why should cis females or females have their spaces invaded by trans women?
But that's
Because
been happening for decades. People have been able to go in whatever bathroom matches.
My question, does it? Does that answer my question? Why should cis women or females have their spaces invaded by trans men who want to use the women's toilets? Why can't they have their own toilet?
It's trans women, not trans men.
Trans women, well, you can have both. So why
you can, but
women...
not both of them are going into the women's space. It's trans women that want to go into women's spaces.
Okay, so why do they want to go into women's spaces when they can have their own toilet? Simple solution to it. have a separate toilet.
Thank you both.
That was absolutely
do you know what you remind me of, George? I was having a debate when I was about 15 with, let's call him a homophobe, because that's what he was. And he said that he thought that gay men should have a separate changing room to straight men because he wasn't comfortable with the idea of undressing in front of somebody who might potentially find him attractive. And I found that argument pretty gross back then, and I find your argument gross now.
Hi, yeah. I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I'm a trans woman, and I'm just terrified of living in the UK at the moment. You know, where's this going to end? What is going to end? Because it's just getting worse and worse and worse. And what's going to happen to us in the future? I'm really scared. I have horrible dreams every night. You know, I'm going to be executed and I can't cope anymore. I watch all the propaganda on the TV and in the news. And I could see this coming years ago. And I just live in fear all the time. And it's sort of like, no one knows I'm trans. Like, this is actually a fake voice that I'm putting on right now. At work, they don't know I'm trans.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have to hide it all the time. I'm a good person. I do, you know, I've never done anything wrong in my life. You know, I fit in. I never have any trouble on the street because I pass. I know it sounds a bit silly with this voice, but
and I understand your desire to stay anonymous.
I do it to stay safe.
Yeah, of course.
If they found out at work, I'd lose my job. Just straight up, I'd lose my job. I'd be bullied. I mean, when I was a few, lot of years ago, and I sort of like coming out, I've lost jobs. I've been sacked from jobs. I've been bullied out of jobs. I've been given lots of homophobic abuse, been disowned by my family, I've been homeless,
And that's, I think, the point that I was trying to make and it's coming through on the text as well, people saying, just have a third toilet. But if you are a person who is not out as trans, you are, as you put it, passing, because understandably you fear for your own safety, because trans people are still discriminated against, are still more likely to be on the receiving end of violence, that when you use that trans toilet, you are effectively outing yourself, aren't you, to everyone?
I mean, the thing is, when it comes to toilets, I have walked into a male toilet, like by accident, with like confusing signs, and be like, "Sorry, love, but this is the woman's toilet." Go there. And these are people who, if they knew I were trans, would either probably attack me, or would think. So this is really strange to me, because it's sort of like they're like. These people are like, oh, well, you obviously go in the male toilet. It's quite simple. You just go into the male toilet. But if I was going to go into the male toilet, I'd just get booted out.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry, this is the men's toilet. You belong in the women's toilets. So it's socially unacceptable for me to use one toilet and illegal for me to use another.